If you're worried about your posture when walking and you don't know how to fix it, then today's video is going to give you a 12-part checklist that you can use to fix your posture when walking. If you don't know who I am, my name is Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today we're going to be talking all about how to fix your posture when you walk. Now, problems with walking posture are incredibly common for the people that I see. Sometimes people will come in and they say, I feel stooped when I walk, or I don't feel like I've got the same endurance, or I feel like I get back pain after I've been walking for a while, or my legs don't feel powerful enough. Whatever it may be, a lot of it comes down to mistakes that people are making with the way they walk. And we call the walking pattern the gait pattern. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at the 12 key components of gait. What I want you to do is take notes from this video. You can write down the 12 things, and then when you're walking, you can check that you're doing each one of these 12 things perfectly, and that will automatically fix a lot of walking problems. So let's dive straight into it and have a look at these 12 steps now. I'll talk you through them one by one and you can have a go at home. So now I'm going to give you a 12-part checklist for fixing your posture when walking. And I don't want you to panic and think that you're going to have to keep 12 things in your mind when you walk. That's not what this video is about, because 90% of these things you're probably already doing. But there'll be one or two things on this list that you're not doing. And if you fix those one or two things, your walking will improve as a result. So I'm going to walk you through the 12 steps of gait, which is the way we walk. And then you can check these off one by one the next time you go out and walk. And if you find any of them aren't working as they should, you can focus your mind on correcting them when you walk, and your posture will improve as a result. So let's have a look at the first thing we do when we walk. So the first thing we do, if we're walking with our right foot forward first, is our heel should hit the ground. And this is a massive mistake I see people making. They walk and their toes are the first thing to hit the ground, or they walk and their foot lands flat. And immediately you've put yourself onto the back foot, excuse the pun. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that the first thing that hits the ground when we walk is the heel, because that sets us up for a perfect next step. So to show you on the left side, the first thing that should hit the ground when we walk is the heel. And you can see that the foot has kind of a rocking motion. So it goes from heel to toe. So if your heel is not the first thing that hits the ground, it goes flat, you've lost your rocking motion immediately. So that sets you up for failure. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure you have a heel strike. Now the second point on the checklist I want you to look for is that you're getting hip extension. Okay, so after you have your heel strike, the next thing that happens is your leg is carried through, and this leg at the back should now be behind you. I'm going to show you again. So watch my right leg here. You've got heel strike, your foot goes flat, and then your hip should extend. That means the leg should be behind you. To show you on this side, we've got heel strike, and then we have hip extension. So you can see my thigh is actually out behind my body, and that's how we walk. But what I see many people doing, and this is especially the case for people who've had an injury in the past and they've developed a limp, is they get the heel strike, and then when they get to here, they stop and they take the leg forward, and that develops a horrible appearance of a limping gait. So what we need to ensure is that once we've had a heel strike, we're allowing our leg to come behind us. So we're not stopping the gait pattern too early like this. We're allowing it to go heel strike, hip extension. Okay, like that. So that's the second thing we want to do. We want to make sure the hip is able to go out behind us. If you can't do that, then it might be because you have tight hip flexors. So there's a video on my channel to stretch the hip flexors, which should fix it. Or if you have a lot of pain in your groin, it's possible that you have some hip arthritis, because that can also stop hip extension. So if that's the case, make sure you go and get checked out by your doctor so you can get a proper diagnosis and a treatment plan. Now the third step to the gait pattern is something we call toe off. And that is after the heel strike. As I said, your heel hits the floor, your foot has like a rocking motion, your hip goes behind you, and then the next thing that happens is we push through the calf, and that gives us what we call a toe off, and that generates power when we walk. So look again, so heel strike and then toe off. So you're using your toes to push you forward like that. I'm going to show you on this leg now. So we have a heel strike and a toe off. So we should be feeling that we're pushing off through our toes every time we take a step. And again, we see this in people who've had a previous injury and they feel like, I've lost so much power when I walk, or I don't have the endurance. Quite a lot of the time it's because their calves aren't helping them anymore because they've lost the toe off. And sometimes it can be as simple as just telling your brain to do that. So remembering that I use the word push. So push like this, I'll show you again. So you're going to do push, push, push like that. So you're using your toes to push you forward, and just saying it in your brain can help you to propel forward instead. Now, the fourth thing we want to check is happening is we want to check the knee is bending. And again, this is a big problem for people who've had knee replacements, or they've had a knee injury and they've had a stiff knee for a while. Even if they've regained their range of motion, they can sometimes walk with a very straight leg. So I'm going to show you the mistake first and then how to fix it. So if this is the leg I had injured, often we see this, and then the person keeps the leg straight and they carry it through. Obviously that was exaggerated, but to show you again on this leg, it's like this, and then they hardly bend the knee. And obviously that is going to cause problems. So you just need to make sure that your knee is bending when it's off the floor. So to show you how we properly do it, we have a heel strike. Then when we get to here, the knee should bend and come through. And the beautiful thing about a knee bend is that it sets you up perfectly for your next heel strike. Okay, so if you're not bending the knee, you often land flat, but if you are able to bend the knee, that leads with the heel coming down first. So that's a really good way to fix a heel strike problem, but many people are walking around with quite straight legs, and that causes a lot of stress on the hip because you then have to hitch to carry your leg through. And it's also a cause of tightness at the front of the shin, because if you're not bending your knee, you still have to clear the floor somehow, so the ankle then has to work double time. So what we're going to do instead is bend that knee. So ensure you're bending your knee when it's traveling through the air before your next heel strike. Now, the fifth thing you want to check for your gait pattern is you want to check you've got stable hips. And what I mean by stable hips is that you have hips that stay in pretty much one position in terms of how level they are as you walk. So stable hips would look like mine, just walking forward. You can see that even if I have my hands on my hips like this, my hands are not dropping to one side. So my hips are staying level. Now, what we often see in people who don't have stable hips is this kind of thing. We call it a Trendelenburg gait, and it basically means they've got weakness in their glutes. So you can see people out in the street who often walk like that. I'll show you from behind, because you're obviously going to recognize this from out in the street. You see people's hips swaying from side to side, and it's not a good sign. It puts a lot of stress on the knees and on the ankles as well. And it's something that can usually be fixed by strengthening the glutes. So check your hips are stable. If they're not, then that's leaving you at risk of injury, and you can strengthen the glutes using one of the other videos on my channel to help you fix that problem. Now, the sixth thing you want to check, and this is a nice easy one, is you want to check you're getting what we call a glute squeeze when you walk. And this is paired up perfectly with the extension part of the movement. And what we should just be noting is that after we have pushed through like this, you're getting your buttock firing up to push you forward. The buttocks here are so important for propelling you forward. They work with the calf to give you that forward propulsion. So what I want you to do next time you're walking is to just have a hand on one buttock on one side, as if you've got pain in your buttock like this. So you're going to walk like that, and you should feel it tighten up. Okay, so that's a good sign. It means that it's working. So again, here, that's where you should feel it. Okay, if you can't feel anything happening, it's not switching on, then you might have weakness there that can be strengthened, and that should improve your gait as a result. The seventh thing you want to check is that you've got what we call a tummy tuck. Now, you see a lot of people walking around in the street like this. You can see they've got like a duck bottom coming out, and their tummy is completely relaxed and everything is just kind of hanging forward. We call this an anterior pelvic tilt, and really it's not great for your back, because it puts a lot of stress on the joints there. You can see that I've got no core engagement here whatsoever. So my tummy, it looks awful, but it also puts a lot of stress on your back as well. So I'm going to show you how to fix it. It's very, very simple. Next time you walk, I just want you to check that your tummy button is pulled slightly in towards your spine and that your belly is not protruding forward any more than it has to. You should notice that you've got a little bit of tension here when you walk. And one of the great ways to do that is to just pull that tummy button in towards the spine. If you're not sure how to do it, just pop your fingers on your tummy button like this and then take a breath in. You'll feel it come inwards. We don't want to have a breath in all the time, but we just want to feel a little bit of a pull back when we walk and to maintain that as well. As I said before, many of you will be doing this automatically, but some people won't. They tend to be the people that stand kind of like this with everything relaxed. But if you just tuck in like this, pull your tummy button in towards you, then that's massively going to improve things. The other thing that can help with visualizing that movement is to imagine that you're also just pulling your pelvis in underneath you. So that happens at the same time as the tummy tuck. So you go from here to here, very subtle movement. And after you've been doing this for a number of months, it will just become automatic. So don't feel like you have to be keeping that in your mind for the rest of your life. It will become automatic after a few months of practice. If you naturally stand like this, have a finger here, just imagine it coming in and your pelvis coming underneath you, and then maintain that when you walk. For most people, that's much more comfortable and much safer. Now we're going to move up the body and we're going to look at our top half, because everything up to now has been bottom half. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check that we're walking with our chest out. So the best thing you can do to make that happen is to imagine two movements. First thing is your shoulders coming back and your chest coming out. So you want to be able to open yourself up like this. And what you'll notice when you do that is immediately you can breathe a lot better. You get more airflow into your lungs and you can expand much wider, which means that you'll be more efficient when you walk. So you just want to bring that chest up and the shoulders back. Now, the second thing we want to check is that our arms are swinging. And I did a separate video on this topic earlier this month, and it basically described how many people walk, especially if they're fearful of falling, with their arms completely still. And your arms are very important when you walk. They're the thing that counterbalances the upper body. So if your arms are not swinging, you're not walking efficiently and you're actually off balance. So it's counterintuitive to keep them still. So what we want to do is we want to allow our arms to swing with our opposite leg. So as the left leg steps forward, the right arm swings, and vice versa. Okay, so we want to allow the arms to relax. That works alongside having the chest open and the shoulders down like this, and you're just going to allow your arms to swing next time you walk. Now, the 10th thing you want to check is you want to check that your shoulders are relaxed. I see tons of people who are walking like this, and especially the older generation who have suffered an injury or a fall in the past. And again, it's a protection mechanism. It's to make sure that they're ready for action in case they're to lose their balance. But again, counterintuitively, actually makes things worse. So I want you to make sure that your shoulders are not close to your ears. They should be down, and that should come alongside having your chest open. So chest open, shoulders back and down and relaxed. And again, that's going to allow your arms to swing too. Now, the 11th thing you're going to check is you're going to check that your chin hasn't drifted forward. Now, I see a lot of people with this posture when they walk. They kind of have their chin forward like this, and sometimes that can be to do with arthritis in the neck. So again, this isn't suitable for everyone, but for many people it's just bad habits, especially people who are used to looking down at their phones. Again, this is a really suboptimal position because your head is forward. It's a lot of stress on your neck muscles, and it basically drags the entirety of your body into a poor posture. So all we're going to do to fix this is make sure we've got a slight chin tuck. And that means what we're going to do is you're going to put two fingers on your chin. You're just going to guide it back 25%. So if that's 100%, what we want to do is just take it 25%. And you can see that looks totally normal. You can see from all angles here that I'm not straining. I'm not trying to pull anything back too hard, but my head is in a really nice position on top of my shoulders, and that's my natural best neck position. So we're not coming right back, but we are bringing it back, and we're certainly not allowing it to drift forward. And then that brings me on to the final checklist item here, and that is where your eyes are looking. Now, a lot of people, even if they have good posture, they tend to want to look down to the floor about 2 or 3 feet ahead of them. And again, this is especially common for people who've tripped in the past. Now, if we look down 2 or 3 feet in front of us, that again drags our posture into a terrible position. So what I'd instead ask you to do is bring your gaze up to 15 feet ahead of you at the floor. So we're still looking at the floor, but instead we're 15 feet ahead. We've got our chin in, we've got our chest back, our chest out and our shoulders back. And that is your perfect upper body position when you walk. Then you can allow your arms to swing opposites. You're very unlikely to trip up because your brain can still take in a picture of what's in front of you, even if you've looked at it a few seconds ahead. You don't always need to be looking down here. And in fact, it's detrimental to do that. So keep your eyes 15 feet at the floor ahead. And once you've got all of those points on the checklist, you'll find that your walking gait will magically improve a lot more than it is now. So that's my 12-part checklist for fixing your posture when walking. I hope that has helped. If it has, then please leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get more from me personally, then please feel free to pick up a copy of my book. It's called Thriving Beyond 50, and you can find it on Amazon using the link below. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.